Hello, everyone. Welcome to Life Lessons with Mr. D. Every year, I take some time to go through some important topics that aren't part of our normal course of study, but I think are things that people should know. And so this year, because we weren't able to do life lessons in person, I thought it would be nice to do it online. We're going to do several different lessons. Each one will be a different video, and some topics may even take more than one video to cover. I'll release them as I have time, and if you have any questions about something that I don't address in the video, please feel free to put them in the comments and I'll do my best to reply. Part 1 is going to talk all about cars and driving, with the first big topic, highways and navigation. I should note that we all have GPS, but our brains are a lot smarter than our phones. And it's a lot safer to actually know where we're going than it is to rely entirely on our phone to show us where we can go. If you haven't already thought of it this way, you should know that the highways in the DFW Metroplex work like spokes on wheels, like wagon wheels, or like spider webs. And if you know the numbers, then you can find your way around pretty easily, even if your phone is dead or you don't have cell phone service. Now, we've all been in a spot where we used navigation and we didn't get to where we wanted to go. GPS isn't always correct. Traffic, construction, and other things can affect it and misdirect you. And, like I said before, it's better and safer to actually know where you're going, because what if your phone is dead, or you don't have cell phone service, or you're riding with someone else, you want to make sure that you can monitor them going the right way. Here's a view of the roads in the Metroplex. We've got Dallas in the east, Fort Worth in the west, and then the mid-cities in the middle, Hearst, Bedford, Euless, Arlington, Irving, Grand Prairie. Right at the top, we've got DFW Airport, and north of DFW Airport, we have Denton. Let's talk about Dallas for a bit. Going right through east to west in the middle of the town is I-30. I-30 is an interstate road. It's federal money. It's a freeway. It's got on-ramps and off-ramps and bridges, and it doesn't have traffic lights. Just below that, we've got I-20. It's another freeway, the same thing, another interstate. Looping around the whole city is 635. Going north to south, we've got I-35 going from the south into downtown, and then it branches off to the side, going northwest from there. And then we've got 183, which branches off from there as well. Going right up through the middle is the Dallas North Tollway. And we can tell from its name that it's a tollway and not a freeway, which means that you have to pay a toll, as opposed to freeways that you can drive on for free. You probably never thought about that's why it's called a freeway. Past that, we've got 75, which isn't an interstate, it's a U.S. highway. We'll talk about that in a second. That goes north-south and up toward Plano-Richardson. Then going south from downtown, we have 175, which is another U.S. highway that goes toward the Seagoville area. We've got 45, which is an interstate road, and that goes toward Houston. We talked about I-35, and then 635 down here, 67, I should say, down here, goes toward Duncanville. So, like spiderweb or spokes on a wheel, a lot of the roads lead toward the center, lead toward downtown, and then branch out to different suburbs and different parts of town after that. Now, you may not know that a lot of these roads follow some pretty strict categories and rules. If they're a blue and red shield, that means it's an interstate highway. It's federally regulated and federally funded. And interstate means that they often go from one state to another, but they don't have to be. They don't have to be an interstate. The other thing to keep in mind is that on top of these being freeways instead of traffic lights, they're also set out in a numerical order. all the interstate roads that have even numbers, like I-20 and I-30, go east and west. And all of the ones that have odd numbers, like 35 and 45, go north and south. They're also in order. The east and west even numbers start in the south and increase in number as they go north. You'll notice that I-20 is farther south than I-30. And if we keep going south from I-20, we'll get I-10. So it works that way in a numerical order. The east and west roads do the same thing. I-35 is farther west from I-45. And if we keep going east, we'll keep adding up in numbers. Now, U.S. highways, the white shields, don't always work this way. They don't have the same sort of rules as interstates. These rules are only for the blue and red shield interstate roads, but it's good to keep in mind. Now, what if you have an interstate with 3 numbers instead of 2? All of the numbers, the roads with 3 numbers, the interstates with 3 numbers, have some sort of curve or loop or hook to them. Instead of going mostly north and south, or mostly east and west, they curve mostly. And you'll see that 635 curves around the city of Dallas. The other interesting thing about the 3-digit roads is that the last 2 digits are a road that it connects to. You'll see that 635 connects to 35. And between 35 and 635, it creates a circuit around the city where you can connect sort of Pac-Man almost shape, and it surrounds a large portion of the city. Now, moving on from those, we also have state roads like Loop 12 that are sometimes freeways and sometimes not freeways. And you'll notice when you look at the map that Loop 12, when it's near Irving and Grand Prairie, is a larger road. It's darker color and it's thicker. That shows that that's a freeway. But when Loop 12 is in the rest of the town, it may or may not be a freeway. It's a smaller road on the map. So the map shows roads that are color-coded as well, depending on how big the road is. So there's an outer loop, 635, an inner loop, Loop 12, and then there's roads going each direction to and from the downtown area. Take a moment, if you haven't already, to find where you live on this map, and then find a place that you go often. You can think where school is, you can think where your work is, or some other place that you travel to often. And if you don't already know it, see if you can figure out the route to get there. Pause the video and figure that out. Okay, so let's move on. Fort Worth, some of you may have been to and traveled to often. Some of you have maybe never been to Fort Worth. But the nice thing is that the systems all still work the same. In fact, a lot of the roads are even the same roads. You'll notice cutting right through the middle of Fort Worth from east to west is I-30, just like in Dallas. And going south along the bottom end of the city is I-20, just like in Dallas. And going through the middle of the city from north to south is I-35W. Now this is a little bit different because in Dallas, I-35E goes through the middle of the city. In Fort Worth, I-35W goes through the middle of the city. Now the E and the W don't mean that the roads go east and west, they're north-south roads. But I-35 splits into 2 branches when it comes into the Metroplex. Farther north of us and farther south of us, it's a single road, but it splits into 2 different branches, an east branch and a west branch, when it comes into the Metroplex, and when it leaves the Metroplex, it comes back together to become a single road. So you can think in both cities, 30 goes through the middle, 20 goes through the south, and 35 goes north and south through the middle. Now, just like Dallas had 635 wrapping around it, Fort Worth has 820 wrapping around it. And in this case, it's 820 because it connects to I-20. So those last two digits are the same. A few other roads we've got leading from downtown going northeast is 121, and that connects to 183, which is our airport freeway, the same one that goes into Dallas. And then going south from Fort Worth, we've got 287 going from downtown southeast, and we've got the Chisholm Trail Parkway going from downtown southwest. And just like the Dallas North Tollway had a fancy name, the Chisholm Trail Parkway has a fancy name because it's also a toll road. In between Dallas and Fort Worth, we have what are often called the mid-cities. So we've got Arlington, which is the largest of them, and north of Arlington is Hearst, Bedford, and Euless. And then on the Dallas County side, we've got Irving to the north and Grand Prairie to the south. Now again, a lot of these are going to be the same thing. Right through the middle, we've got I-30, just like we do in Fort Worth and Dallas. And on the southern end, we have I-20, just like we do Fort Worth and Dallas. On the top is 183. This is often called Airport Freeway. 183 is right by DFW Airport, and then it goes east to west and into the downtown areas of both Dallas and Fort Worth. Cutting north and south, we've got 360 and 161. 161 is often called the George Bush Turnpike, and as we've discussed before, a fancy name means toll road on that as well. So hopefully that will help you have a better understanding about your environment and your surroundings, and it will help you navigate through your city and the cities nearby a little bit more easily. This should keep you safer, and this should give you a backup in case you ever can't use your GPS. If I didn't answer a question that you might have, leave it in the chat, and then be on the lookout for our next session, which is continuing in cars and drivings, but this one's going to be all about maintenance. Some really basic things you can do to keep your car in better shape and to keep yourself safer. I'll see you then.